Hello YouTube, I'm back with another deck profile. This time it's going to be the Superheavy Samurai deck that I took to the Catskill New York Regional this past weekend. I finished 10th place. A little bit disappointing because I started out winning the first 5 rounds and then losing the last 2, and I needed to win one of those 2 to make the top 8, and I still don't have a regional top 8. And both the games, round 6 and 7, there were probably situations where I could have won, but either way, I'm still learning the deck. It's definitely a lot more complex than I expected it to be, but it's a fun deck to play, and it is really strong for this format. So I'll just get into the list that I played and talk about some of the choices, and then I'll go through my matchups as well. So to start off, main deck, we play 3 Prodigy. It's the most broken new support card or legacy support card that an archetype's received, probably, or one of the most broken. It just does so much just by itself. 1 card gets you full board just opening this, and so then 3 Soul Piercer. I mean, the fact that this card's not once returned makes it insane, so you add like 10 times with it in the combo. 3 Bike. Again, this is another really good support card that just makes the deck a lot more consistent. Gives you extra starters. 3 Wagon. It's the worst starter, but it's still a starter by itself, so still have to run 3 of it. 2 Monk. I've seen some people only play 1 of this. You have to play the second one. There's just too many situations where, like, if this gets stopped somehow, you just lose it and it's gone forever and you can't resolve Prodigy again. So I did find myself siding out 1 a couple of times, which I thought was a bit of a risk, but it never came back to bite me at the tournament. So we'll see going forward if I wind up siding that out or not, but 2 in the main deck definitely will stay the same. For the 1-ofs, Soul Peacemaker, Scale, Soul Gaia, and Stealthy. I think all these cards are pretty essential. Like, Stealthy is what helps you play through Nib a lot easier, because it's the only one that you can just summon by itself without having a super heavy on the board like this. You need the super heavy to summon it. So I was playing the Soul Claw for a little bit, but I just decided you didn't need that card at the end of the day. It's nice to be able to add it off box occasionally if you draw the Tunneler, but there are weird situations where it could come up, but I didn't really miss it at the tournament. So we get the Gearbox Tunneler package. I drew Gearbox a good amount of times. It was kind of unfortunate, but this package is still just really strong. The fact that it just recycles all your 1-ofs so that you always have them for follow-up, and then you just draw 2 to draw into hand traps. It's really insane. We get the Regulus and the Kaiju for the Genius search targets. These are pretty standard in the deck. Now for the hand traps, 3 Ogre, 3 Ash, 3 Droll, 3 Gamma, 3 Veiler, 2 Nib, and the Driver. So that's going to round out the main deck. I don't know about this ratio of hand traps. I think it was mostly fine. Drolls were a bit weaker than I expected them to be, just because of the matchups I played against. I didn't face any mirrors, which I was actually kind of scared of the mirror. So I guess I was fortunate I didn't run into that. But the Ogres are really good. Ashes are really good. Nib I resolved once, so it was fine, I guess. Veiler and Gamma were also good. Like, all of them had their moments. They were all fine. So extra deck, 2 Scarecrow. There's some lines where you have to use 2 of it. So the second one's really important. Plus, like, against Kashtira, you don't want to just run 1 of it, because if they're smart, they'll banish it, and then you just can't play it with any 1-card starters. So you kind of have to run 2 of it. Usually recycle it with the Tunneler, so you're never really going to run out of this. But 2 Scarecrow. The Genius, this card's really, really good for the deck. Just being able to search the Kaiju or the Regulus or Spell Canceller, which is in my side deck. just very strong. I played Asa. Asa was kind of like the flex spot where I was debating about this for a while. I had IP Masquerena in there for a bit. I had Saryuja in this spot as well, but I ultimately went with Asa. And to be honest, I'm glad that I did go with the Asa because it did come up twice, where it was just the best option over IP. So Asa was good. Then you got Apo and Access Code. That's it for the links. For the synchros, Baron, Excel, Savage, and Saratobi. All these cards came up. All these cards were good. Like, I wouldn't cut the Saratobi. This card's too important. In case you ever run into a time situation, like this is how you win a time, and then against back row decks, just being able to quick effect Pop a Spell Trap, like this is really good. So for the Exceeds, Gear Gigant, I'm not playing the Ballista because I just didn't have one. So Gear Gigant was my way to get the box. And it didn't really, like, there was a couple situations, there's a couple awkward situations where you want the Ballista if you get interrupted, where the Ballista is just a little bit better, but like Gear Gigant gives you more versatility, being able to add back the box from the grave to trigger it, which actually I did twice to add the box back when I drew it. I would discard off the Scarecrow and then add it back and then trigger it, so that actually is very relevant that this can add from the grave. So Gear Gigant, Baguska, this is the only card in my extra deck I never summoned. It just didn't come up, like, weirdly enough. I got drolled, like, a good amount. There was, like, one game I could have gone into it, but I just made a Baron and passed instead. I forgot which round it was, but I feel like just going for Baron instead of this was correct in that situation against that matchup. So this wound up not coming up, but usually this is for when you get drolled, you just go into this. But there were, some of my hands were just really weird where, like, I got drolled and then I just couldn't even make this because I didn't have enough, like, extenders anyway. Maybe that was just me playing incorrectly or not playing around droll, like, enough, but Baguska never came up. It's probably still going to stay in just for, like, the threat of it. But we'll see. Then we played the Merrymaker Sargas package. This was really good. This got summoned a lot. Just to be able to search Regulus off of the Sargas and be your main way to make your 4-material Zeus is also really strong. Zeus got summoned maybe 3 or 4 times, and it was really strong. Got hit with a Ghost Ogre once, though, which was kind of unfortunate, but that's the extra deck. For the side, I played 2 Eccentric. This should have been 3 of, but I just didn't have a third one, so 2, because it's realistically the only way you're going to out the Perform Pal Rainbow Magician. I was scared people were going to be on that card. Thankfully, I didn't see it, but going forward, it definitely could be a problem because there's really no, like, inherent out with this deck, so you have to play outs to it. So this is just, like, the best out you can play. It's also just versatile too, being able to, like, summon it and pop a monster like a Vanity's Fiend too. You're out to that, because otherwise this deck can't really out that card either. Then we've got 3 Kaijus. To be honest, it probably should just be 3 Kummungus instead of Gamma Seal, because there was a situation where I wanted to pendulum summon the Kummungus, or I wanted to pendulum, like, I think I had the Gamma Seal in hand, and I wanted to pendulum, like, I had my pendulum scales, and Kummungus is a 7, so you can pendulum summon it, and Gamma Seal is an 8, so you can't. So that actually does come up. There's also being an Earth too, like, to make Asa potentially. I doubt that would come up, but there's a chance it could. Like with this and a Nib token or something. Like, you never know. That's it for Kaijus. I was also playing 2 Kurikaras. I was borrowing them from a friend, so I had to give those back. But Kurikara was also another way to out the Purrely board or, like, Kashtira. I only drew Kurikara once and didn't resolve it all tournament, which is just a bit unfortunate, but there was 2 Kurikara in there. If I actually owned them, I would play them for sure, but next we got 3 Ghost Bell. This was for, like, Mathmech or Runick or, like, just different weird matchups, like Dragon Link or something. Like, there were weird matchups that I thought this could have been good against. I did play against the Mathmech, and these did get sided in against them. I did side this in against Naturia Runick as well. I only drew it once, and I hit a fountain with it, which is like fine, but it didn't really like do enough to win the game. I just didn't have enough to. Then next we got the third nib. This came in against a couple of matchups, so probably still keep it in. Pankratops, this seemed like a good generic card to put in. It's also a 7, so you can pendulum summon it, which is kind of cool. And I didn't resolve it all tournament. I drew it only once, and it was actually a brick in my hand. Like, it was really dead when I drew it. I was around 6 against Salamangreat, of all things. And I really needed to see any engine piece. I had 2 turns to draw, like, an engine piece and that would auto-won me the game, basically. And I drew Pankratops, and I drew Kaiju. So nothing I could have really done in that situation. It was just a bit unfortunate. I don't know if this is going to stay in. I might wind up putting in like retaliating Cs and contact Cs for Purrely and Branded going forward. I don't know. The side deck's still a work in progress for sure. 1 copy of Lancia. This was just another, like, this was mainly in here for being a potential out to the Rainbow Magician, just because you can set it. And against Kashtira, it wasn't terrible. It got sided in when I played against Cash. Didn't see it though. And the last 2 cards were the Spell Canceller Saryuja package. I decided to side deck the Saryuja because I just couldn't figure out what to cut in the main extra deck. So Saryuja got side decked. And Spell Canceller, it auto-won me a game against Runick, so that was pretty good. And I did put this in against Blackwing also. And it did actually slow him down a bit in that matchup too. So this did put in work. I'm probably keeping this in the side, honestly, just because I feel like every card in the main extra deck comes up enough to where I don't want to cut any of it for Saryuja. So that was the deck. Round 1, I played Kashtira, 2-0'd it. My opponent just didn't draw very good either game, unfortunately. Round 2, I played against another Kashtira, and this opponent definitely drew better, but I was still able to win 2-1. Round 3, I played Blackwing. It's kind of surprising to see that, and I actually lost game 1 because I opened a hard brick, the only hand all day that I really just couldn't play. Double Ogre, Veiler, Droll, Regulus, had to pass, and then proceeded to get OTK'd. But thankfully, I was able to pull out games 2 and 3. Round 4 was against Mathmech. I 2-0'd it pretty quickly. The hand traps that I drew stopped him pretty good, so that was pretty much that match. Round 5, I played against Pack, who was playing Purrely. I was really intimidated to play against him because he's clearly a better player than I am. But I somehow managed to 2-0 him. I'm not sure how I did it, but I won the roll, and he only opened 1 going second card, which is Ogre, and I used my Baron Negate on it, and then I set up my full board, and he couldn't play through it. Game 1, and then game 2, his hand was pretty subpar. I I Ogred my friend, and ashed his talents to draw 2, and he passed on setting 2. I baited out an Imperm, and then I had another Ash for his set Purrely spell, which would have summoned from deck to prevent lethal damage, but then I just had enough damage on board to one-shot him. So it was a good match. Round 6, I played against Salamangreat. I was certainly not expecting to see Salamangreat. I hadn't seen it for at least a solid 3 years or so. And we were the only 2 undefeateds left, I think, or 2 out of 3. I think there were 3 undefeateds left. We were at table 1, and we were both undefeated, and he was on Salamangreat. And game 1, he resolved Double Desires and did not banish his Salamangreat Roar or like all of his Salamangreat monsters, and he had targets left in deck to keep playing. And he got to his Roar, and it was just too much for me to deal with. He won the roll and got to set up pretty strong, so he had a lot of hand advantage. He went like Flame Buffalo, draw, Heat Soul, draw, and I just couldn't really do anything about that. Game 2, I take game 2 pretty convincingly, but game 3, it was honestly a really good match. It was a really good game. It was a back and forth game. There was 2 turns where he had no cards, basically. He had nothing. He drew and passed. He set 1 and passed 1 of the turns. Turned out to be an Imperm. All I had was Regulus on the board, and I was just poking him 2,800 2 turns in a row. I Regulus, attack for 28, and pass. And the second turn of that, I had a Droll in my hand that was just sitting there that I really thought about normal summoning and linking off into Asa, and using Soul Piercer to attempt to search to play the game and like win that turn. But But I know if he has any like interruption, I'm in a much worse spot because then I lost my Regulus negate for nothing if he stops it somehow. So I just decided to play conservatively and attack with the Regulus and pass and hope that one more turn. He had one turn to draw something, and he drew a Salamangreat monster, and apparently one Salamangreat monster was enough with what he had in his graveyard already set up to just go access code and kill me that turn. And I had no other interruptions. My 2 cards in hand were Kaiju and Pankratops and the Droll with 3 cards in hand, I guess. So I couldn't really do anything about that. I kind of thought about it for a while after about what was actually the correct play there. I think I probably did play it correctly to play safely and just leave the Regulus up, but I don't know for sure. It's a little bit frustrating. Round 7, I played against Naturia Runick and lost that to 1. This match, I definitely misplayed game 1. He had a Sunflower up on the board, and I searched Bike when I started to search Prodigy, which would have played around it a lot better because I could have gone Prodigy effect, summon itself, battle phase, attack over Sunflower, and then try to play in main 2, and that probably would have won the game from there, but there's no way to know for sure. Game 2, I had Spell Canceller, and then game 3 was just unfortunate. I just drew really bad. My hand was good. I had like Prodigy plus a lot of hand traps, but I had no other engine, and Prodigy got ogred, and I had nothing else. So that was just game. So I wound up getting 10th place. I was the highest place X2, but still a bit of a disappointment since I was so close to getting that top 8 finish. It was only a 7-round regional, only 125 players, so definitely the smallest regional I've ever been to. But it was still a good experience overall. So thank you guys for watching, and that's going to be it for this time, and bye.